Welcome in to One-on-One Nightly, the abbreviated version of the actual One-on-One New York's longest-running sports call-in show, alongside Eli Keeler. Alex Woles will be joining us in a little bit on the updates as well. I am Thomas Aiello, and Eli, it's the first time you and I are working together.
How are you, Thomas?
It is. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's been a great day here at Fordham University. It's very nice.
It's been so nice
degrees.
outside. So nice outside. I got to sit on Eddie's parade today. Played a little rugby, actually, with someone, so that was interesting. I've never played rugby in my life, but it was fun to throw around the ball. You got to, spin it on the side. But there are other sports going on. We've got MLB baseball. We've got the NBA playoffs. Those are getting really, really beefy. And we've got NHL playoffs. So a lot to look forward to in tonight's show, Eli.
Absolutely, man. I love talking about NBA all day long, especially and MLB as well, and I'd love to explore some of this hockey stuff. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I'm open, and, let's see what, the Rangers Penguins specifically has in store for us.
Yeah, so I want to lace up the ice skates here, and let's head out to the rink. Two of our beat reporters that cover the Rangers, Tyler Mooney and Thomas Quigley, they are on the line with us. Guys, what's going on? How is the game going out at Madison Square Garden versus the Rangers and the Penguins?
What's up, Thomas? It's not good. It's not good at all. Rangers are down 2 games in the series, now down 2 goals in the game. The first was from Jake Gensel, a pretty nifty move. He shot it, kind of ricocheted it off of Shesterkin's left pad and in, kind of using it as a backboard. So you tip your cap there. But the second goal was really just a mistake by Braden Schneider on defense, trying to finish a hit instead of actually playing defense, and that allowed Teddy Bluger to score the second of the night. So now they're down 2-0 with just about 6 minutes left in the second period, and the Rangers' offense has looked pretty stagnant all evening. It's not great.
So, Quiggs, you brought up, obviously, the Rangers' defense. That's clearly been an issue the entire series. I mean, Igor Shesterkin, who's the favorite to win the Veniza Cup, he's been benched a couple of times. He really has had, I would say, an experience in the playoffs is the word I'm going to use. What do you think that this is going to change the perception of him moving forward, or do you think this is just a shock to the system for him?
Scott, want to take this one?
Yeah, I can take this one. I think this is more just a shock to the system. Yeah, Shesterkin was not great in games 3 and 4. He did set, the second most saves in an NHL game ever in his first playoff game. So I think while Shesterkin was great in Pittsburgh, the Rangers defense did him absolutely no favors. It's really just been a poor defensive effort for New York, and they've been a little bit better tonight, and Shesterkin has been better as well, but the issue tonight has really been the offense. So in terms of Igor Shesterkin, no, I would not be worried about him. A rough start to the playoffs, but people will forget that Henrik Lundqvist, Hall of Fame goalie for the Rangers, he got swept in his first playoff series, so things can definitely turn around for Igor.
What's up, boys? It's Eli Keeler here in the studio. I have a question for you guys. Going into this playoff series, the Rangers seeded higher than the Penguins, seemingly to be the favorites. How surprising that the Rangers, find themselves in this position at this point in the series?
Well, it's kind of surprising and not surprising at the same time. It's surprising in that, this is a team that has kind of been strong the entire season and really played well against the Penguins throughout the regular season. So I really expected them to thrive in this series against the Penguins, especially with the Penguins' backup goalie slated to start this series. And now we're on the third string with Louis Domingue, who only made 2 starts in the NHL this season. So from that perspective, it is surprising. But from the other, the Rangers have been a goaltender-first team all season. And they've really relied on Igor throughout the season. And the offense has kind of always been the secondary. And that's kind of being exposed right now in this series. They're not really able to challenge Domingue too much in net. And when they are able to, in the last 2 games in Pittsburgh, Shesterkin was off his game. So really nothing going right for the Rangers in the series.
Guys, I want to get your opinions. I want to just transition to the Penguins really quickly because they have obviously a much older team and more experienced team, and in this series they've proven to be the alpha. Do you think that this is probably the final run for this core unit in Pittsburgh, or do you think that there's going to be a little bit more of a window in the next year or two?
Well, I mean, it definitely could be. The Penguins have lost in the first round the 3 previous seasons, so there were a lot of people thinking that this Pittsburgh team may not be able to get another run with this core. Chris Letang, the Penguins' #1 defenseman for the past decade, is a free agent at the end of the season. It's unclear whether he will re-sign in Pittsburgh. So
yeah, it's a very strong possibility. As the Rangers have just scored here,
Oh, how nice.
There we go.
it's a little bit of hope for the Blue Shirts now. It was pretty quiet. Obviously, the three plays in the arena kind of feel like a regular season game, but this place is alive now. The hope of it.
Guys, you there? I was getting real
Yeah,
loud.
they just scored. They just scored a goal, so it's really loud now. That's Adam Fox, his second of the playoffs, I believe. And hey, the team has luck. Let's see what happens now.
That's funny. I was just gonna ask you if you guys thought that if you guys think the Rangers can, stay in the series and even come back in the series. What do you think it will take for the Rangers to not only win this game, but possibly even come back and win this series?
Well, they're going to have to get going offensively, and this was such a huge goal for them to get from Fox. Really not many chances at all in the first period, and they got a few in the second here. That was probably the goal just by Fox. Now, maybe their second or third best chance of the entire game. So they're going to need to keep playing defensively the way they've been playing, and they're going to need to get this offense going. And the crowd of the Garden is absolutely in this game now, so it should be a great finish.
So, gentlemen, obviously we're looking ahead here just forward in this game. I want to look a little bit into the offseason. If you guys were to, I guess, give me a timeline as to how far away the Rangers are in terms of being true Stanley Cup contenders, how many years would you guys probably give it to get to that point, and what would you guys say would be their biggest needs?
I mean, I think they need to rethink a little bit on the offensive side of the puck before they can really start sniffing a deep playoff run. I mean, we'll see what happens in this game. The season could end tonight. We could start, thinking about these conversations a lot harder. But, I think they're probably at least a solid 2 years away from really making a deep run with this young unit. They have a lot of young talent and a very bright future. They just need probably a few more veterans to this team, I'd say. But there's a lot to figure out. I think this game is still very much a winnable game for them, and that means the series is still winnable. So might be a little bit too early to have that conversation, but we'll see.
We know the Rangers were primarily a defensive team all year, and you talk about them locking.
Oh, it's just tied? Wow. I think Eli and I are magic.
We should stay on the line.
We should. I think Eli and I, we were just saying he and I are magic. We might have to stay on this call for a little bit longer. I really believe it.
A complete turnaround here for the Rangers. They don't want to say look dead in the water after that second Pittsburgh goal, but it was not looking good. And now it's a brand new hockey.
I mean, it sounds absolutely chaotic in there, but for good reason. Now, the Rangers, you guys talk about their offense. If you were, I guess, to look at it from where you guys are right now, from your little perch in MSG, what are some quick and easy fixes that they can apply to this series if they want to salvage it at all?
Well, they're going to need their top six to show up. The kid line of Pablo Caco, Alexis Lafreniere, and Filipino has been the Rangers' best in the series. Lafreniere just getting the game-time goal moments ago. But if they want to win this game, ultimately this series, they're going to need guys like Panarin and Mika Zibanejad. Mika Zibanejad has yet to score in this series. They're going to need those guys to step up and be the superstars that they know they can be.
Another area they really need to excel because they've been lacking throughout the entire series is face-off. They've been getting absolutely taken down in the face-off circle, and that needs to change if they want to start winning these games.
Well, Thomas and Tyler, we thank you guys for the time. Enjoy Madison Square Garden. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I hope you guys get to see a wild finish at MSG. Thanks for joining us.
See you later, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much. You guys going to call back so they score again?
Yeah, maybe. You know what? I mean, hey, if we're some sort of mystics or anything, I think we can do that, because every time that I say one thing, the complete opposite happens. Alex Walls he can attest to that. I've said more than a few things.
Welcome me to the show. Nice to see you. It's the first time. I've been sitting here for 10 minutes now. No introduction. No how are you.
I said Alex Walls is going to be here in a little bit.
But here's the thing, Thomas. I'm sitting here as an updates guy. My job is to wait until you look in my eyes and say, I want to hear you talk. And I didn't get that yet. So I was sitting here patiently, and you guys are doing a wonderful job.
Can we? Oh, thank you. Well, can we just point out Alex's setup? It's incredible. So he's got his folding laptop here that can fold backwards. So he's got like a tablet thing going, and he has like a Bluetooth keyboard. Can you just hold
You
it
know,
up?
well, I was preparing this. I bought this computer, this laptop for this moment. This was just prepared exactly for this. I had my whole setup. I told you because my keyboard is kind of broken right now,
Yeah.
so I had to find enough real estate here to get everything down. And I'm in great shape though. It's good to be here. First
No,
time
that's
on
good.
Nightly. So
I think, this is, I think, the first time you and I are on a broadcast, but Lou Orlando, our producer, just informed me the Rangers have scored again.
are you kidding me?
I'm not. I'm not kidding. It's 3-2 now.
Just a quick note, just because Thomas Aiello decided to call Alex out on his laptop
No,
setup.
I'm complimenting it.
No, I just because Don Waltz here is my guy.
Don Waltz.
I would like to point out how Alex does not have any socks on. He's got the toes out in studio.
I have socks on. Thomas does not have.
I mean, excuse me,
Take it easy over
Thomas.
there,
Excuse
please.
me,
Take it easy over there.
Thomas does not have socks on. He has the toes out in studio. But
You know what,
Stop.
Ryan?
Maybe it's Rangers'
Ryan
good
has
luck.
Control of the camera, Ryan. You could show
No,
everybody.
no,
I mean, I don't know if you
no,
go
no,
far
no,
enough,
no.
but you
Maybe
could
it's
show
good
me
luck
this.
for the Rangers.
Maybe we rally.
You know, it's funny though because the other day
Sandals.
we Chris and I. So funny thing, we were talking about this before. If I was going to jump on the hockey segment or not, I guess I am because we've watched enough hockey in the Wolf Tennessee household because him and I are roommates.
Oh
So
my
I'm not
God.
a hockey guy
Yeah.
by trade. But he has been putting on hockey every night. You
I'm
have
sure.
One game on the big screen. You have one game on the
And it's
laptop.
3-3.
And I'm sitting here watching some basketball. So, oh my goodness,
It's
Eli, you're
3-3
not
now.
kidding.
Yeah, Lou Orlando is
my
our.
God.
This is, I think.
I'm watching the stream here, and this is
He's
crazy.
watching the stream. This is, I think, the wildest chain of events that I've ever been on for a one-on-one.
This is actually ridiculous.
It's actually very entertaining. Can we just have an entire just live stream of watching this hockey game?
But you know what I was going to say is we had a fire drill the other day, inevitably in the middle of this game. It was I think it was 1-1 at the point, and Chris is not a big Rangers guy. He's an Islanders fan, of course. The next thing that we walk out for the fire drill, we come back inside. It's a 4-1 game. So I guess there's just a way. This series is a way of going back and forth. But I thought you guys asked some good questions to the guys because
thank
certainly
you.
Rangers backs are against the wall here. Very interested to see how this one's going to pan out.
Oh, it certainly is. And I think with any young team, especially when you're seeded as high as the Rangers were compared to the Penguins, and this is something I think that the Knicks struggled with last year, and this is a comparison I'm going to make, is when the Knicks were the 4th seed, they played the Hawks in the first round of the playoffs, and everyone goes, oh, they're going to beat them. Defense, they're an exciting young group, and they just get swept, well, not swept aside, but they just get their you-know-what's beaten by the Atlanta Hawks. And it was a very ugly series, but this is the risk you run with these young teams going into playoffs, and you play these much more experienced and talented teams, and they showcase, like Sidney Crosby is 34 years old. We looked this up in the newsroom, Eli. He is still probably the best player in hockey, without question. When he steps
That's a
in.
hot take.
I mean, it's a hot take.
I
But
think
he's playing
in
his
this
best
series,
hockey in a long time
I think
right now.
seeing
Yeah, he's
vintage
been-
Crosby in this series,
Yeah.
you can make that argument right at the second.
Vintage
but-
Crosby is a force to be reckoned with. You don't want to mess with him, honestly. But
Yeah, and what I think is interesting too with this series, you know, we're mentioning it before, the fact that when the regular season obviously was so heavily in the Rangers' favor, and they
Yeah.
really dominated the Penguins. But now you talk about playoff hockey. You mentioned earlier, this is one of the most experienced teams in the league, the Penguins,
Yeah.
and obviously this is one of their last runs with Crosby, with Malkin, with this group. And I think you're seeing the experience pay off here because they haven't looked, flabbergasted at all by MSG or anything that the Rangers are putting out here. They've been super, super locked in, and a lot of that's experience, right? This is a team that has done this many times before, and you're seeing the results of that, I think.
I also think this may or may not play a little bit of a factor into it. I think MSG has lost its intimidation factor just a bit. I think
that's
just a little
ridiculous.
bit.
I think
A
that's
little bit. A
ridiculous.
little bit.
Have you been to a Rangers game this year?
No.
Throw it out the window. Then how do you know if you haven't
I
been
just-
to a
I
game?
think that's absurd.
Can I judge by the Knicks? They play in the same arena.
Were you not last year in the pandemic when Knicks Hawks were playing each other?
That
you were
was
not
the most
impressed by
lively I've
MSG.
ever
I
seen
was.
MSG.
I'm not a
was,
Knicks
but-
fan. I was on my seat because I was into it.
I was impressed, but the Knicks don't win. See, like
That
this
has
is the
nothing
thing,
to
though.
do
The
with how
home
many
team
fans
can't
show
take
up.
advantage of it. And then and Trae Young in game 1 went bonkers. That's
I will,
what I'm saying.
I will give you that. I think
That's what I mean.
I think that maybe
it could get to them.
the effect that MSG has is somewhat been dampened, but
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with the effect it produces. I think it's because this Penguins team is so experienced.
They're just they're good.
And I really do like that Knicks Rangers kind of comparison there because two defensively minded teams with not a lot of offensive firepower. They get to the playoffs. They find experienced teams with offensive firepower. Their defense breaks down and just everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And so I do like that comparison a lot. And we've also saw with Trae Young where he just ate. He just took
ate,
it all
ate
in.
their food.
He didn't.
ate
He
their
didn't.
lunch.
He didn't care about the MSG effect.
Yeah, and look, Igor Shesterkin. I think I said that right.
Shesterkin, yes.
Shesterkin, yes. I mean, he's going to win the Veneza Cup probably. He was incredible this year for the Rangers in goal. So a lot, obviously, to take away from this season if you're a fan of the red, white, and blue, of course. And one thing I think Quiggs had pointed out when he said that they need a couple more veterans, I think the culture is what's going to carry this team probably. And it's going to carry them far in any sport. But I think especially in hockey, where it's just such a pound for pound, it's 100 miles an hour and there's no breaks. Having guys that can slow the game down, they've been around the block, I think that would do wonders for this team. In terms of the playoffs especially, this can really fix, Alex, a ton of things for them.
So I think what's so interesting about the Rangers is when you think about the beginning of this season, what did you expect the Rangers to do? I don't think this type
Really
of success was on the cards necessarily. So, it's a lot of it with the Knicks, too. You bring up the Knicks. Another example of that, we didn't expect them a year ago to be the 4th seed coming into the season. But I think as the season goes along, you shift your metrics of expectation. And I think the Rangers, inevitably, just because of how good they did in the regular season, you're expected to win this series. Now, that doesn't make, losing it a disappointment of a season
the fact
by
they're
any
even here
stretch.
is impressive.
But I do think still there is an expectation to win this series. And obviously, game 1 was really, I think, the killer for the Rangers in a lot of ways. When you have a triple overtime game, and you mentioned Shesterkin, you take 80 shots in a game like that to recover, get back up the next day, and win a hockey game is a really, really big challenge. So I think, he's certainly been beaten up the whole series, I think, because of that game, which really laid its, foundation all over this series. But still, it's a bright future for the Rangers, like you mentioned, regardless of what happens in this series. But obviously, doesn't take away from the fact that they're still expected to win and still have a pretty darn good chance too, as well.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think the last time I remember the Rangers being good was 2014 when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals versus the LA Kings. They didn't win it, of course, but I can remember the excitement I live in New Jersey, like northern New Jersey. The excitement at every store, there were people painting the windows with Martin St. Louis jerseys. There was a Henrik Lundqvist, I think, dummy in a store, and I flipped out. I thought it was the scariest thing of all time. But I think it's also good when the Rangers are good, especially a New York market team from the NHL who had got Eli a huge deal with ESPN. They've got guys like Steve Levy and Barry Melrose I think has a hand in the hockey broadcast for ESPN. John Butcher-Gross is the studio host. So the NHL, in terms of their product as well, is really taking a big step up.
No, yeah, that's huge, and it's happening with a lot of sports. We see MLS. I'm an MLS fan. Major League Soccer. That's kind of coming into the scene a little bit. Even F1 a little bit. I was talking to people earlier. More people are watching F1. These are not sports that people watch.
Bobby's in the back.
We give a shout out to our advisor, Bobby Chaffardini.
I'll say this
excited.
about F1 though. I mean, it's amazing the growth it's having in this country though, because they were in Miami this weekend. Obviously, it's a very cool thing. And I'm not going to say it's on top of the Power 5, sports in this country now. But a few years from now, you got to keep your eyes on it. Yes.
Yeah. So I love to see hockey, in the scene now. And I played the NHL video games when I was a kid. That's my extent of
You can fight in that.
Experience.
You can fight in hockey. It's legal, right?
I'm for that. That's a lot of fun when I watch it, at least. So I'm totally cool with hockey being growing in popularity, and I'd watch hockey. I haven't in the past, but I'm into this Rangers game, and I haven't watched a single Rangers game this whole season.
We came in to start this show, and they were down 2-0, and now it's 3-3 in the span of, what was it? I think 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was.
We were on the phone call with them. That was just. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. I really think, Alex, I'm a mystic. I really do believe that.
Well, I don't know if you're a mystic, if it's Eli's a mystic, if the phone lines are a mystic.
Maybe
you could thank Lou. I don't know who you
maybe
want.
Lou. I think you know what? Lou's a mystic. Lou is the mystic.
I mean, that really is incredible. The amount of these succession goals that we had there, but it just shows this is the Rangers though. They fall behind, and every time they find they're the most comeback wins in the league, and there's a reason for that. Is because they fall behind and have this tendency to come back. And I think with their backs against the wall, they're going to do it now.
Yeah, I think that they can push the Penguins a little bit here. I think this will at least go to 6. I mean, if they go to 7, it's you're ripping up game plans. You're throwing everything else out the window. I mean, for the Rangers, that would almost be like their Stanley Cup in a way. But it's baby steps as we move along here. But that's going to just about wrap up our hockey segment. That was, I think, the wildest segment ever of one-on-one. That little 5-minute stretch, especially when they hung up the phone, and then it gets tied at 3. But we thank Thomas Quigley, Tyler Mooney doing a fantastic job. And shout out to Thomas Quigley, one of our seniors this year.
Shout out Fordham Club Baseball.
Shout out Fordham Club Baseball winning their league. They're going to regionals. So shout out to those guys. Good luck. But we are going to take a quick little break here on one-on-one before we come back with a one-on-one 10:30:50 update with Alex Wolves.
Hey there, this is Tom Quigley, your Rangers beat reporter for WFUV Sports. Make sure to follow me on Twitter @tquigs04 That's TQUIGS04 for all the latest Blue Shirts news and in-game updates. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to WFUV Sports on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for my post-game recaps and for all things WFUV.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
All right, so you heard it here first. We've got a very wild one out in MSG. There's 5 goals in total in the second period. We are even heading into the third intermission. 3-3, a must-win game for the Rangers. They're trying to force Game 6 in Pittsburgh. So a busy night across the NHL. Got a number of 2-2 series. How about the Capitals? They are step-by-step with one of the Cup favorites in the Panthers. They lead it 3-0 out in the Sunshine State early in the second period. Stars and Flames set to do battle at 9:30 in Calgary. Over to the association pair of games on tonight's slate. We are currently underway out in Boston with the Celtics. They've got no Robert Williams. They still lead the Bucks by a dozen end of the third quarter there. And then the Warriors aiming to put the coffin on the Ja Morant-less Grizzlies. They're looking to be the first team to book their spot in the conference finals. Also want to give you a quick hit on the Nets. They're already looking to the offseason, and an interesting note today from Sean Marks. He says the team is looking for selfless, committed players. I wonder who he's referring to. It's certainly not Nikola Jokic. He's just been named the league MVP, 65 first-place votes. He best out Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo to win that award back-to-back times. World of baseball, booming as always, especially for the New York Yankees. A walk-off home run a few days ago, and he drove in all of the Yankees' runs today in a 5-3 win over the Blue Jays. That's Gleyber Torres, and that's a sweep for the Bombers, who head out to Chicago to take on the White Sox, starting a 4-game series tomorrow. Mets out in Washington, they're taking on the Nationals, trailing 8-3 midway through the fifth. And some other out-of-town scores, Sox and Braves even at 3. Rays atop the Angels 1-0. And speaking of the Angels, yesterday we saw Reed Detmers no-hit the Tampa Bay Rays on just 2 strikeouts. Now, guys, that's the first time in 11 years a pitcher has thrown a no-hitter with as few Ks as that. How about some more MLB history? Christian Yelich swings for the cycle in a 14-11 loss to the Reds. 6th player in league history to reach that mark. So some more history. Hopefully going to see some more, too. That's your one-on-one scoreboard. I'm Alex Waltz.
Thank you, Alex. That will
Good stuff tonight.
jam-packed.
Right? A lot of stuff tonight.
I know.
I was talking about this yesterday to Chris and the guys. You know, you could give, I think, 2 months in sports that are the best. Either this or October.
I'll pick March.
This is it. This is it right now. This
March.
is either
You could a playoff game is on every night. I mean,
and
yeah,
I could
there's
even
3 playoff
say
games.
this is biased, but I could even say June. Like NBA, the late into the NBA
Oh,
playoffs
yeah,
is
no,
just
yeah,
But once
yeah,
the finals,
magical.
but then you know what? I like this part of the playoffs better than the finals because the problem with the finals, there's 2-3 days between every game.
That's
I'm
my
missing basketball.
There's
for so
like
long.
there like right now is like the best part. Like this is the best part.
You got
of the
baseball when
league,
every
yeah.
team is still in it, right? Because even you could be a Mets
Yeah.
fan, think you're winning the World Series right now. You know, the NBA is obviously involved. The NHL is obviously still, going strong. There's a lot of good stuff. And then you're a college guy. There's a lot of college offseason
there's-
excitement.
yeah,
Which is also
transfer
part of it, right?
portal,
That's part of
yeah.
it. So I think that's also important too.
The transfer portal has been absolute combat, in the words of John Rothstein. Portal combat. I mean, people are holding. They're like holding Isaiah Wong,
That's
just
funny, I
holding.
like that.
Isaiah
That's
Wong
funny.
is holding Miami hostage with freaking money with NIL. I mean, come on, it's absolute insanity. I think it's for me personally, because I'm selfish like that. I think it's fantastic, but the NCAA may need to check the monster they may have just created. Anyway, we have to go to the baseball diamond because the Yankees and the Mets, for the first time in I think 1,000 years, I say that facetiously, both teams are very good. So we have to start with the New York Yankees. 5-3 today, as Alex said. They beat the Toronto Blue Jays, Eli. And Gleyber Torres, who was someone that a lot of people, including myself, had written off as he is going to either get traded or benched. He may get sent down to start the year. I think that was an idea in my head for some reason. But he has been extraordinary this season. 5 home runs, 5 RBIs today. He had that walk-off against Texas the other day. And offensively, especially, I think moving back to second base has been a big factor in his offensive resurgence. He has been really good for a lineup that has people like Kyle Higashioka, like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, people that aren't going to produce like that. So it's great to see someone like Torres step back into that role. We saw a couple years ago in 2019 when he smacked, I believe, over 30 home runs, if memory serves me correctly. And people were saying that this guy's the next Robinson Cano. He's got power. He can this, that, and the other thing. But now, Eli, here he is, and he's coming up in big spots for the Yankees. And now they're 22-8. They're the best team in baseball.
They certainly are, and he had a big day. 5 RBIs is huge, but I need to see more of this.
I do.
I
agree.
Because the beginning of the season was not. I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't pretty.
It
was like, oh, okay, we're seeing this Gleyber Torres again. But it's been a few more games, and we're seeing more of the old Gleyber Torres. And if this is the whole thing about the Yankees is that they're a very explosive team. A lot of home runs, a lot of 325 feet pop fly home runs. Like, the Yankees are going to find their way to they play their style of baseball to win games. And the problem is that doesn't work. That goes in waves. You score a ton of runs, then all of a sudden, we haven't scored very many runs. And you see this with the Yankees every year. There are waves up and down. So if you have, after 11-game winning series where it seems like, okay, maybe things are starting to level out, and then all of a sudden you have Torres, a major part of that lineup, start to streak up, that's huge. Because if you have the Yankees still going up, when are they going to come down? It doesn't look like anytime soon.
I think the one thing you have to keep in mind with this Yankees team, and they've evolved into this the last couple of years, and it really is annoying me, is they think they have in the back of their heads for some reason that you can outslug teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, no.
You can't outslug teams like the Houston Astros in the playoffs that have such lineup balance, not to mention their pitching was disgustingly good. So that concept, I think, has been thrown out the window a little bit with this Yankees team. I mean, they're still incredibly reliant on their hitting prowess, but adding people like Kiner-Falefa, adding Gleyber Torres' resurgence, his revival, if you will. You also had people like Josh Donaldson, he's a huge culture guy. I think that those were the things that they were missing, and our video producer Ryan Gregware, he'll remember what I'm about to say. I said last year the Yankees need to get some a-holes in that clubhouse because there's too many nice people, and I suggested Amir Garrett, but that has since been thrown out the window.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I remember last season, when I was covering the team, one of the funniest things I thought was like when things were getting bad, they would always say we're going to have a team meeting, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then they would proceed to lose the next few games. Every single time. And I think part of it is like you mentioned, you do need some leaders in the clubhouse.
Yeah, they had no mean people in the clubhouse. I mean, maybe Stanton, but he's more like he'll just stare at you from the dugout and then he won't do anything. Josh Donaldson will actually get up and smack you. I genuinely believe if I'm in a bar fight, I want Josh Donaldson on my team. I kid you not. I am very sincere when I say that. But back to baseball and in Toronto, I mean, they're not gonna be 17-15 by July. They're gonna be way better than this. I just think that a lot of new moving parts with this unit. Matt Chapman from the Oakland A's fire sale coming in. Hyun-Jin Ryu is not healthy. He's not on the mound yet. Yusi Kikuchi is a new arm that they've got on that pitching staff. There's a lot with this Toronto team, but it's the bullpen that's just going to kill them. And we saw it last night. We saw it last night with the Yankees with the Stanton 3-run home run once Kikuchi came out, and then you saw Aaron Judge blast a freaking rocket to left field to win that game. And those are issues that are going to arise for Toronto, but the Yankees, to their credit, pounced on it at the absolute best opportunity.
And it's a real shame that they had to play the Yankees 5 times. I mean, they stopped the Yankees win streak, and then the Yankees absolutely remember that no mercy, sweep them in this little series here. And I love the Yankees that I'm seeing right now because it's that kind of no mercy mentality. We're going to go out and we're just going to hit bombs, and it's working right now. But as you made a good point, that's hitting like that in the playoffs. First of all, I don't think it'll carry over that strongly.
It's just not going to
work. But what I will give the Yankees is that the pitching looks phenomenal.
It looks really
good.
Now. The bullpen has been amazing. It really has.
And the bullpen, and also like Nestor Cortez. I want to make this really clear for everybody who watches baseball. Garrett Cole is not the Yankees ace. It's Nestor Cortez. It is. It is.
It is. No,
it's
it is.
Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez is
Please
the
tell
ace
us what
for
was
the
said in your ear there that made you turn around.
Yeah,
like
what
that.
did
Absolutely
Lou say?
nothing. I
You just wanted to emphasize.
I just
the point.
want I want
Okay.
everybody to know.
Who are you
I want
looking at
everybody
there? Who are
to
you
hear
looking
this.
at
I'm
there?
looking at everybody who wants to hear me. Nestor Cortez is the ace for the Yankees, and I get annoyed by this. Me and my friend Nick were talking about this the other day. I get annoyed by this because in interviews after games, people are like, "Oh, Nestor, are you surprised that you came out and pitched?" Well, no, come on, like put some respect on his name.
That's probably
He's
the
an
worst
absolute.
question.
Like, why would you ask that
I
to an
know.
MLB pitcher? He's an absolute beast, and he's playing like it. And you need to put some respect on his name because he's pitching better than Cole, and he's pitching better than most of the pitchers in the MLB right now.
I also find it insane, and I tweeted this out the other day, that he was released by Baltimore and Seattle. When they were both, I mean, Baltimore's just forever bad, but when Seattle was just, when they were just not good. And I mean, they're getting there, but point I'm trying to make, he comes back to the Yankees, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. And
Right.
the game he had against Texas, 7 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts, 103 pitches, 68 for strikes. Do not tell me that when you refuse to give an effort in life that things can't happen like that. Nestor Cortez is the epitome of not refusing to not give an effort in life. Okay, this is a huge inspirational moment for like myself, our younger group here at FUV, for young people everywhere that are sort of deciding where they want to go. Look no further than Nestor Cortez. And again, I mean, I don't want to diminish it a little bit here. It was Texas. They're not what we think they're supposed to be. I mean, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, those are not easy outs. Neither is Adolis Garcia. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that he can go out there and do that after what he's been through, I mean, it's incredible. And I have to wonder, if I'm looking at the July trade deadline, if you're the Yankees, you got to arm yourself, like we said, with the pitching. That's key in the playoffs. Eli, I want to start with you on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Yankees need to go out and add another arm, maybe another bat, just to arm themselves? I'm not saying that they need it, just to have it at their disposal for emergency purposes.
I don't think another arm. I think the way the pitching's going, it's about as good as you want it to be, and I don't think you want to mess with that right now.
Yeah, not now at least. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but there's an important, like, Chapman is kind of my concern because
Yeah,
he's
that's
playing.
yep.
He has 8 saves on the season. He looks really nice, but you know that he can't. There's no way he keeps that up all
No,
the way
he
till
can't.
even
He didn't
the
do it
trade
last
deadline.
year. He hasn't done it the last 2 years.
Yeah, so maybe depending on how Chapman goes, the Yankees will say, okay, wait, we have a gap in this closer position if Chapman really falls off. But I don't think you mess, with the arms too much. Maybe another bat, but I
Yeah.
also don't think so. I think you let this wave kind of ride, and you're gonna come back down to earth as a Yankee fan. But
Yeah.
that might also open up new doors for players, lower in the lineup to just start getting, not so many bombs, but like, getting hits, manufacturing runs. I think it's too early to say trade anyone or say we need anyone. Because of but
Yeah.
you never know, because this team is going to come back down to earth by the trade deadline. Maybe you'll see a hole that you need to fill.
I think the internal improvement has also been key with this team, especially getting someone like Luis Severino back. I mean, he has a 4.08 ERA right now.
And if that guy's your 5,
but he's
that's
he's
huge.
He's the 2 still.
I mean,
But I know what you're saying. Yes,
Yeah.
in theory, yes, I know what you're saying. I think him coming back was huge for these guys this year, and now they're going to call up Luis Yeel, who a lot of people, especially last year, were impressed by what this kid has. I mean, he throws gasoline. He is a 2-pitch pitcher. He needs to develop that third pitch. And Alex, of course, you were beat reporting for the Yankees.
Yeah, I was going to talk about my guy Luis.
You got to bring him up. I think he's good.
Yeah, there was
I
a
think he's
point
good.
last year when he popped up. When the Yankees were having a lot of problems at some point, and I thought this guy was here to stay. Like, he was incredible.
He took the league by storm for a little bit.
And I think part of it's like you mentioned, just his heat and his power is incredible. But now you just have to keep that in control. And that was
Yeah.
his main thing. Is he as tremendous as he was getting strikeouts and forcing outs. Obviously, he also had just as many walks and hard contact. So as long as you can balance that out, with bringing the big league focus, I think he'll be a really good addition, not just now, but down the line for this Yankees team, because he's got a lot of pop in him, and that's a pitcher.
Yeah.
Having in your back arsenal is a really good guy to have.
And the versatility, too, of the bullpen as well. I mean, Michael King can come out and
Michael
start
King
a game
is
if you need.
nice.
He's been amazing. He's
nice.
top 5 on the Yankees right now in WAR.
Well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the Yankees, I think we could talk all we want about the hitting, right? Because we all know how many runs they can give you day in and day out.
Yep.
But if that bullpen is not sound, they're not going to win games.
No.
And I think
No,
we all know
Toronto's
they-
the example of that.
That's
too.
a great point.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Toronto's the
you
example.
live and die by your bullpen in baseball. baseball, and we've seen, obviously, like you mentioned, there's a new ace appearing for the Yankees, arguably, or in general. A really good starting pitching rotation. Now, what do you do, to get the bullpen going in the same way? And we've seen a lot of good performances from a lot of good guys. And as long as you can get, guys like King, guys like Chapman setting, and get obviously, so many different guys in that bullpen that can give you good outings. If you can get that consistent, combined with the offense this team can give you, it's scary.
Yeah, just to talk about Michael King for a second, I think it was Miguel Castro. That's another guy I want to emphasize. He came in
out of
for
nowhere
Severino
right.
In that first Blue Jays game. Severino struggling. 4 straight strikeouts, finishes the inning, goes one more. I mean, you love to see that from just everybody up and down this bullpen is making a really meaningful impact. And that's huge.
He's another guy who this is what the Yankees are just really good at. The Yankees and the Dodgers, it's almost like the North and South Pole of baseball because they have that pull. They just find guys off of the damn street and they become gods. I mean, Max Muncy for the Dodgers, the Yankees, I can name a ton of people. But Miguel Castro, starts out with his career in Toronto, then he gets traded to Colorado. Then he goes to the death wish that is Baltimore. Then he goes to the Mets. And last year, 3.45 ERA, you see what he can be as a sinker ball, changeup guy. Now he comes to the Yankees, he's got sub-2 ERA. It's unbelievable how they can just find people like this, and they become amazing. And Miguel Castro has been an incredible bridge to setting up guys like Chapman, Chad Green, Jonathan Loizaga, who will figure it out. He's the least of my concerns. Clay Holmes, another pickup just out of nowhere. Nice. They picked them up from the Pirates last year in that trade with the Park kid. I forget his first name, but Park, the Yankees prospect Park, he gets traded to Pittsburgh. Hoy Park, thank you, producer Lou Orlando. And Clay Holmes comes back, and people were like, oh, who's this guy? He's a bona fide scrub. Stephen A. Smith, he's a bona fide scrub. And then he just goes bonkers right out of the gate for the Yankees. And now he continues that with a .61 ERA. He got a save the other day. And look, if you're the Yankees and you've got this pen thing going, I think that's a great thing. Again, it's not a bad idea come the trade deadline if you really just want to reinforce that wall. Just go get another arm. The Oakland A's are having a fire sale. Frankie Montas. It's a good idea. Will they do it? Probably not. But
and if I'm the Yankees, I'm not.
I don't mess with it now unless you really think you should.
And I'm not taking any deal unless it's like oh my god.
Oh yeah, no, it has to be the right
free,
deal.
You know what I mean? I'm really not.
Unless it's free.
Yeah.
Unless nothing is free, my friend. In life.
Unless it's close to free. Yeah.
Well, see, if it's free, you take 3. So we're going to transitioning over. We got to talk about these Mets because they've impressed as well. The New York Mets, their offseason this year was incredible. Max Scherzer, of course, headlining that entire thing, picking up Chris Bassett from the Oakland A's fire sale. Right now they're losing 8-3 to the Nationals of all of the teams, but nonetheless. I think that this Mets team, given how they've been constructed, they've had the foundation the last couple of years. You could see that it was there. There was just no one who could tie it together. Now, I'm going to make a very quick Fordham basketball reference. When Tom Pecora left Fordham and his talent remained on the roster when Jeff Neubauer came in, the thing about Pecora was he was an incredible recruiter. He brought all these guys together, all this talent, Chris Gaston, this one, that one. No one could pull it together. Jeff Neubauer comes in his first year, he pulls Pecora's talent together, and they win 17 games. The point I'm trying to make is that you had guys like Mickey Callaway, Luis Rojas, these managers per se. They had this talent on the roster. Pete Alonso, DeGrom, Michael Conforto when he was on an MLB team, right? Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, Edwin Diaz, if you still think he's good. Buck Showalter has now come in, and he has pulled them together, and the Mets are 21-10. They're the best team in the National League. So the Metropolitans, they've done some good things, and I do truly believe that the injury bug that always happens with them, they're going to be able to avoid that this year, Eli. They can avoid that because they're good enough to do it.
I think I speak for everyone when I say I did not expect Buck Showalter to be the guy to come in and fix all their problems.
He was enjoying his TV gig.
I didn't expect that, at least, but yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from the Mets right now. You've had this problem in the past where you have, a couple of big pitchers, DeGrom, obviously, Syndergaard, a few years ago, and then
Johan Santana.
yeah, and then
You
you
probably keep going.
just lack offense.
Yep.
But now that you have an offense, it takes the pressure off your pitchers a little bit, and you can see your pitchers improve too. Now you have guys who, first of all, you don't have DeGrom yet, but even without DeGrom, you have Scherzer, Bassett, McGill all have 4 wins. Carrasco has 3. I mean, to have those guys, Carrasco, Bassett, McGill, be your 3, 4, 5, your 2, 3, 4 right now is beautiful, because as soon as you get DeGrom back, hopefully close to playoff time, they become your 3, 4, 5, and then it's like, this is easy. Like our pitching is ridiculous at that point, and if you can keep your offense up, there's no one stopping these Mets,
there's no
because
stopping them. Yeah,
they also structure their offense differently from someone like the Yankees, where they have, I don't want to say, they have
power, but they've got a balance to it.
Up and down the order,
Yeah.
a lot of people can hit the ball, and they manufacture runs. It's not just a couple guys hitting bombs.
Right, and the other important thing with baseball, and this is more of a Moneyball reference here, is can you get on base? See, can you get to first base? That's the first
They can
key.
absolutely get
The
on
Mets are doing a really good job of that right now. A team OBP of .336. That is pretty good for the Mets, and I would say people like Mark Canha have really contributed to that. Brandon Nimmo has been not bad in that category. Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte, a big name that we forgot. Also, Oakland A's fire sale victim. Is victim the word, Alex? Victim? What is it?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know how I would necessarily describe it. I mean, Oakland certainly is in a tough spot right now.
I want
Starlin Martin's certainly in better hands right now. Starling Marte.
There you
excuse me.
go.
He's certainly in better hands right now, because I think that's the thing with the Mets is we talk about with the Yankees and all the different weapons they have. I think you could say the same for the Mets. I think what you're seeing too is a lot of guys are also more comfortable in their shoes this year for the Mets, and a guy like Francisco Lindor, like Starling Marte. You're getting guys that certainly are happy to wear the blue and orange, and I think you're seeing a Mets team that used the experiences of last year, kind of like the Yankees, right? Use that experience, and all of a sudden are in much better shape because of it. Whatever word you want to use for it. So
I gotta go through this thesaurus here. So you gotta get creative with this stuff.
You have pulled out a lot of words so far.
I have. I mean, I like to read the thesauruses for fun. That's
what you do. Next to the Fordham Bassel history books, you've got your thesaurus.
Yes. Ryan, shout out to Ryan Rucco today. He did come for a workshop. Great workshop, by the way. Shout out to our man Bobby C for setting that up. And he is the Fordham basketball savant, because he was there when my favorite team was there. Anyway, but just to wrap up, I guess, here on the Mets, I guess the thing that I'm really most concerned with them is the health. Obviously, that's more of just like reading the writing on the wall, stating the obvious here. But you have to hope that these guys can stay healthy, because this Mets team is so ridiculously talented. And people like Edwin Diaz are actually pitching well. 1.38 ERA. Timmy Trumpet over here and Blaster Jacks is actually doing a good job. That's the name of the artists that make that song with those are them. And I remember.
I will say, it's funny you mentioned it, because yesterday Edwin Diaz, Mike Legan's my other roommate, so I got a Mets fan and a Islanders fan.
You just have
FUV Central over there, but he was playing the Edwin Diaz song, so I went on a long tear at night watching like different entrance animations for closers throughout the league. So I was watching like Fernando Rodney, obviously, Aroldis Chapman. Like,
good.
I love what they do for these closers, man. Like, it's
Sandman.
awesome. That's great stuff. Yeah, I was watching Mariano's last walkout.
Trevor
I watched
Hoffman's
that too.
Is really good.
A lot of great stuff, but I think the thing too, when you were talking about the pitching, what I wanted to bring up too, you talk about the Mets obviously staying healthy. Jacob deGrom is of course the big concern, right? He moves to the 60-day IL. Who the heck really knows when he's going to come back? But I think the exciting thing is that you have guys, whether it's Carlos Carrasco getting more comfortable, whether it's obviously Tyler McGill's been a great piece, and Chris Bassett obviously. That's your guy who I think
that was the
very quickly might be becoming your number 2 option, regardless of what happens to Jacob deGrom, and that's something you didn't have last year.
Right.
So you're talking about a Mets team that's got a little bit more to work with now, regardless of what the health situation ends up being, and you're hoping obviously if you have deGrom back with Scherzer, with Bassett, this is a very dangerous Mets lineup. Yeah.
I do think also Taijuan Walker is going to contribute to this. I do
definitely. Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why that this is in my head. Given the Mets rotation how it is right now, I think he may, and this is assuming deGrom comes back, I think he'll get thrown into the bullpen as the long relief guy. I don't know. I don't know if that's the worst. I don't think it's a bad idea. Is it going to suit him? Him personally, probably not. But in terms of the Mets win games, Eli, that could be an option. The versatility factor is very real with this team. Indeed.
I mean, I don't know if I guess I can see that happening.
It could, but I'm not saying they should do it.
No, yeah, but I mean, if they can get something like that to happen, that that's huge, especially when the injury problems come, which, they very may. Also, quick side note, DeGrom started throwing a baseball today.
He did.
60 feet, light toss, but,
Yeah.
baby steps.
Baby steps, and that's what we were saying with Justin Verlander. He was the one that I thought, myself personally, this guy's going to suck when he comes back.
Yeah.
And he is out here looking like Detroit Tigers Justin Verlander. And like the 2013-14 iteration of him, when you almost
goat.
practically couldn't touch him.
Yeah.
Goat. No, literally goat. Him, Scherzer, Drew Smyly, David Price was on that rotation for 5 minutes.
That was ridiculous.
Wait, Doug Fister was the 5. Anibal Sanchez, who gets robbed of his perfect game. Rick Porcello, producer Lou Orlando. Look at him. Lou Orlando is doing himself a job.
Ryan
back there.
Rucco said today one of the most important things to be as a producer is to know your stuff.
Yes, and
so
Lou.
go Lou.
I mean, Lou is the baseball king back there, and water polo, doing a good job covering Fordham water polo like a boss, like an absolute boss. But I guess one more thing I want to say, just looking around the MLB, obviously, Alex mentions the Angels no-hitter. We have to mention the Twitter beef between Noah Syndergaard and the Mets. Because he
Noah Syndergaard.
Oh, it was so
Noah
funny. His
Syndergaard.
Twitter, you have to follow his Twitter. I don't care if you think he's a meanie or if you just love him because he's Thor or whatever. You have to follow his Twitter. It's just so funny. He goes, "This is a real no-hitter" on his Instagram story. Then he goes, "Hey, Mets fans, lose it."
Let me ask you a
whatever
question.
it was.
Honestly, a combined no-hitter is not going to
It's
say
impressive.
more impressive, but when you
No.
got guys coming out cold and just throwing no-hitters left and
Yeah.
right, that's actually,
That's
to
kinda-
me, just as much of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
When a guy's going, for
Yeah.
6-7 innings, at that point, you're
That's a
locked
really
in,
good
right? I
point.
mean, I get it,
You're
third time, fourth
so
time around the order,
locked
but
in.
if I'm asked to come in and I got a no-hitter to preserve, that's
Yeah.
a very hard job. So I
It
think
is
that's just as
impossible.
impressive to me. It's the reason why it's been
Yeah.
done so few times.
I just think the fact that he has to beef with SNY's Instagram.
Oh, that's a win for the Mets. That's a win for the
it's a
Mets.
huge
If he's
win.
still worried about what you're doing,
Yeah, that's a
Win for the
massive
Mets.
dub. Massive dub. And the Angels are good too, Eli. They're 21-11.
Absolutely.
I
mean,
did not expect this at all from them.
I mean, this is what they're supposed to be, isn't it? I mean, if you throw these guys, Mike Trout, Shohei,
Anthony Rendon hitting lefty for no reason.
beast, by the way. But
Beast.
if you throw them all in the, I mean, that's the idea, right? And the Yankees, of course, have experimented this. If you spend so much money, throw all the
Yeah.
guys in the same pot, your team has to be good, right? This is actually, I've coined this. This is big money karma. This is what I
Ooh,
call
that's
this.
a good
I talked
term.
about this with Manchester City
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
soccer
I
podcast
mean-
today. Teams expect to spend a ton of money, get the best guys, throw them all together, and just hope it works out.
Yes.
And it doesn't. You saw with the Lakers, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russell
Ooh,
Westbrook.
I'm glad you brought them
Oh my
up.
God, they have to
I'm
make the
so glad you
finals.
brought them up.
11 seed, they don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like you see this all the time. It isn't just okay. We're gonna go out there, buy the best guys, and our team is going to be the best team. That it rarely works,
Yeah,
except
well-
for maybe like a Warriors when they just bought Kevin Durant.
Yeah, well,
It-
that's a little bit of a
it's-
different scenario.
There's
Yeah.
a big aspect of I'm not just buying the best player available. I'm buying the guy who will fit with this team.
Yeah.
But it seems to be working out for the Angels.
So I'm glad you brought the Lakers up. Shout out to Gigi Spear and Fordham softball, by the way. Kelly Bright too. They're down in A10, so we wish them all the best. But I had said on Pick and Pot a while ago that the Lakers they got too old. I didn't think that there was a blend. There's a blend with this Mets team, and you can see it too. It's working.
the Yankees and apparently
Yankees.
the Angels as well.
Yeah, I mean the Angels. I just like Art Moreno. I think is a horrible owner. I think he's really bad for the game of baseball. Changing the team name from Anaheim to Los Angeles after they were like, we don't want to be associated with the city of Los Angeles. That off the bat, you should have been like, nope, get out, leave, just sell the team again. I don't care, leave. That to me was a red flag. The Pujols deal. I mean, you can keep going. The 1-year pitching experiments. Andrew Heaney, Heen Dog, Yankee, just scrub, not good. Got hurt. Now he's amazing with the Dodgers. He got hurt again. I don't know what to make of him. But the point I'm trying to make with the Angels is the first time in a while they've gotten it right. I think so far they've had a really good first third of the year, going around baseball as well. We look at some other teams. I mean, another team that I don't want to say people had expectations for them, but the Cincinnati Reds, just
Oh, God.
the epitome of sadness over there in Cincinnati, and the oldest franchise in baseball. I mean, having their old man moment.
I
Just-
watched a
yeah.
clip the other day on Twitter of
Oh no,
3 pitches back to back, all pop-ups, 2 foul in play that were 2 foul balls.
They got dropped,
dropped.
right? Yeah. Yep.
And then the third one was a pop out to the pitcher's mound, like right in front of the pitcher's mound.
No one caught it.
Pitcher and catcher both walk up to it and watch it hit the floor. Like, that just explains the Reds season. Like, it's like it's almost Little League. Like,
I feel bad.
It's really hard to watch.
I feel so bad for those fans out in
do as well.
Cincinnati. At
It's
least they
bad.
have the Bengals. Okay,
That's true.
They
got
do
Joe
have
Shiesty.
the Bengals. They got Joe Shiesty, Barstool Sports darling. They love to meme him. But that's going to just about wrap it up for our baseball segment. We're going to take another quick break. I think we're going to need this little break here because we have the NBA playoffs next.
Oh, boy.
And in between this break, before we get to the NBA playoffs, another 10, 30, 50 update with Alex Walls.
Brian Gregory here, joined with Michael Calamari and Andrew Galata, 3 of your hosts for Nosebleeds, WFUV's only baseball podcast.
Tune in every week as we recap the latest from the Bronx and Queens, as well as news from around the MLB.
You can listen to Nosebleeds on Apple, Spotify, WFUVsports.org, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Take a trip around the bases all season long with the Nosebleeds podcast on WFUV Sports.
The one-on-one scoreboard.
All right, so we got some breaking news, I guess somewhat breaking news out of the Garden. The Blue Shirts, they jump out to a 4-3 lead over the Penguins. How about this? We got a good comeback on our hands there. Philip Keitel, he scores on the power play. That puts the Rangers ahead, 11 minutes to go in the third. We know what the deal is. They need to win here to push things to a Game 6 in Pittsburgh. Let's keep an eye on that one down the stretch here. And how about this? Washington, we were just talking about how great they've been. It's now 3-3 against the Panthers, so we've got a good one out there. 2-2 series there and looking for a series lead. And same business tonight, Stars and Flames puck drop at 9:30 in Calgary. Celtics Bucks, how about this? We talked about how the Celtics have been up all the way through without Robert Williams. They were up a bunch of times throughout this game. That one, just a 4-point game now down the stretch here. 2:30 to go in that one. Big night for Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They've combined for over 50. Giannis, he's got over 30 himself, so a good one there, back and forth. Looking to send things to Game 6 in Milwaukee. And inching closer to the Warriors and Grizzlies. The Dubs shooting to book their spot in the conference finals against the Grizzlies. That's out in Memphis. The Grizz, once again, without Ja Morant, a bone bruise in his right knee, going to shut him down for the series and the playoffs. But hey, even with Monday's loss, the Grizz were 20-5 in the regular season without him. So let's see what happens there. Also got some WNBA action. Can't forget to mention that. New York Liberty, big win over the Sun in their home opener this past weekend. Not so much the case today. They're looking to fall to 1-1 on the season, trailing by over 24 out in Chicago against the Sky. Let's jump over to the Diamond. Gleyber Torres, he's been on a tear lately. 16 RBIs over his last 15 games. 5 of those coming today alone against the Toronto Blue Jays. 5-3 win and a series sweep for the Yankees. That makes it 4 in a row. For the Bombers, they've won 7 series in a row. Best record in baseball. And the New York Mets aren't too far behind themselves. 21-10 on the year. Not having so much luck tonight, trailing to the Washington Nationals out in the nation's capital. Bottom of the 6th at the time. And we'll give you a few different scores. We talked about the A's earlier. They're beating up on the Tigers 7-0. You can flip that score, and you've got the O's trailing to the Cardinals. No surprise there. So a lot of action across the diamond as well, and that's your one-on-one scoreboard, and I'm Alex Woltz.
Alex, you know what I was just thinking about?
What's that?
This is the first time I think you and I are on air together.
There's a lot of firsts. This is the
Yes.
first time on Nightly. This is the
Since-
first time I've ever done updates. This is the
Yeah.
first time
Oh my
I've done
God.
anything with
Dang.
you. Probably the first time I've done anything with you.
Yeah.
Eli.
No, definitely with him.
Yeah, this is definitely
This is the first time you and I are on together since opening night of women's basketball.
that's what I was going to say. Like, if you count your job as a sideline reporter, we've done some of that stuff.
Yes.
Maybe a pick and pod here and
A
there?
pick and pod
Maybe? Maybe.
last summer. Nets series. You came on the Zoom.
Oh, the Zoom era. Yes, so I was a
the
Nets
Zoom
reporter
era.
at the time, so I
Yes.
remember I remember that. I gave my Nets
Yes.
stuff.
I think. Did you go to the KD shoe game, or was that Thomas Quigley? Or was that Jack Roach?
That was definitely Jack Roach.
I think it was Jack
Yes, I was
Roach.
watching it at home.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
watching
Jack.
it at home.
It was Jack.
I think I saw a Nets win, if I remember in the play.
Yeah.
Not too many of those these days, but yeah, I think I remember seeing
I
that.
actually wrote, because now that you bring up the Nets, I mean, we're going to get to the NBA playoffs, but I actually wrote an entire Nets alphabet about why they won't win. Yeah, this is what I do on
I'm
my free
concerned,
time.
Eli. I'm concerned, man. I don't know where this is
The
going
one
to go.
I want to.
All right, let's listen. Let's all
I
take a
want to
second.
read
This is exciting.
one. So
You got to give me the whole alphabet.
I know. No, it's gonna get ridiculous.
Give me L.
I gotta find it. Let's see. I have so
I
many.
mean, it's got to
notes.
be losers.
Okay,
It's-
give me
Is it
M.
not? No, I'm just
No,
guessing. I
no,
don't know
I
what
have
it
no
is.
I want a
How
letter
long?
in the
What do
middle.
you have
Give
this
me
in? Some sort of lock
surprise
safe over here?
It's in notes, but it's all sorts of just.
How many notes do you have going
Deep
over
in the
there?
notes app.
He's got to
a
have.
lot.
You know, Thomas is like every
I have
time he
so
gets
many.
something, right to the notes.
It's
Like he's
notes.
got something like
This-
crazy over there.
Write it down. Do something. I can't find it. Where is it?
You introduced this great, exciting idea. And
I
then you
gotta.
just get rid
I
of it.
can't find it.
We
Hold on.
should make an alphabet on how
right.
Thomas can't discover his
Well, we can
notes.
make an alphabet on the Nets right now. I mean, that'd be a little tricky, but
Okay, A.
Keep going while I find it.
arrogant.
Well, that's
Arrogant.
B. Bad at basketball. C.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Oh,
here
here
it is.
we go.
Okay.
Perfect
got it.
timing because
Got
that was
it,
not
got
going to
it.
last
I
very
wasn't gonna
long.
get
That
that.
was not going to last
All
very
right.
long.
The alphabet Brooklyn Nets and why they won't win. A. Andre Drummond sucks. B.
Yep.
Ben Simmons is.
Can I just interrupt? An alphabet only in one word. Like you're saying entire
I mean,
phrases.
definitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
B. Ben Simmons is a baby. C.
Could have just said Baby Simmons.
Babies.
But anyways, C.
No, his outfit was just coach.
How long are we going to let this go? I think should we
We'll
let it go
just.
the whole way.
I'll just pick my favorite ones. My favorite ones was J. Joe Harris. Nah, Sleepy Joe sleeps. See,
He has been sleeping.
he
lately.
has been
He has
sleeping.
lately.
M. Money does not buy happiness. That's a good one. X's and O's. Something Steve Nash doesn't know.
See,
See, you can't.
what did you talk about Ryan Rucco's workshop today? What did he say to you about
Well, he's
talking to
being
about,
nice.
That's true.
What did he say? Don't
He
say
said
anything.
he
Would you say
specifically
that?
said
Right,
Steve
about
Nash.
Steve Nash.
too.
This is exactly what people do. Steve Nash is not the problem with the Brooklyn Nets.
I don't
understand
know.
it, but it's not the problem.
I don't say he's totally the problem. I think the one thing I'll say with Steve Nash is that when you have players like Durant and Irving, and I don't think that it was a bad idea on the Nets' part to go after him as head coach, but you've got to have like very mean people as the assistants, right? Like Amari Stoudemire, great player, fantastic person. I just don't think that he's built to be NBA coaching material. I think you need
respectfully. How could you possibly make that argument?
this is
like
you need to be a bad guy to some of these dudes, right? Like Kyrie
Well, look,
Irving,
I-
Kevin
but
Durant.
also it's like these are experienced,
Exactly.
mature
Yep.
players.
I think
you
that-
need to
and
work
that's-
with
yes,
them.
that's-
You need to be a
yeah.
certain type of coach.
It
You
goes
need
both
to-
ways.
Yeah, you
And it's-
can't be like we saw this with LeBron and the Cavs and Ty Lue. Like
Yeah.
Ty Lue
that was
just
a little different.
sat down and
Yeah.
let him go.
I
well,
think
this
there's
is
a
the thing.
different
Any
way
good
to coach
team,
different players.
Any good team, the coach is not up on the sidelines yelling. That's not
No.
how it goes, right? And I
Right.
think the problem, with the Nets, obviously, it's a very much a player-driven
Oh,
coach, right? That's what it is.
100%, yeah.
And you need, as Sean Marks was talking, I think it was a really interesting press conference today. You need those players to be all in, right?
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem.
That
the vaccination thing.
I mean,
did
you
not-
can point out what Nash has done all you want, but at the end of the day, Joe Harris hasn't been healthy, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. Seth
Kyrie
Curry
Irving.
wasn't exactly
Yeah,
healthy,
Seth
and Kyrie
wasn't-
Irving was there for 50% of the time, right? Like,
which forced James Harden out
Yeah,
That's
well,
also- yeah.
or contributed.
that-
to it.
and
I
Ben
think that could
Simmons,
be-
as you
yeah.
mentioned too, we don't know what his situation is. Does he want to be here? Is he hurt? Is he
Yeah.
not hurt? I don't know. It's a tough situation too. So
the thing with Ben Simmons that really concerns me, and the fact that he refuses to just either take jump shots or even learn how to take one, I think that that's an issue. Now, there's two easy fixes you can have with his jump shot. The first one is when you watch him shoot, right? He's got everything. It's like this. It's all to the
It's like
side.
Alonzo.
No, but
or the other side.
I'm never going to criticize a guy's shooting form.
Yeah, well, one thing
It's
you can do to
incredibly
fix
hard
it,
to
you can
change.
just turn him. You can square him up like this to
You think
kind
they
of.
haven't thought of that yet?
These are the
Clearly
best.
not. I
These are
mean,
the best
clearly
shooting
not.
minds
I think
in the world.
it's obviously a mental thing, which
Clearly
is really
not.
the
I
challenge.
think mental
You've
thing's
got to
part
be
of it.
confident.
Yeah,
And but here's the thing though, the only way you get confident is by playing basketball.
Yeah.
Like you can't get that confidence unless
That's
you take the
huge.
court and do it.
I think
So-
Philadelphia fans really bullied him to the
You know
point
what's
of
funny
no
about
return.
that? Because
yeah.
I don't know if you guys watched Inside the other day, Inside the NBA. Charles Barkley said that there was a player on the Sixers who he would come in as a starter, get 2 fouls instantly so he could hit the bench because he said he couldn't handle what the fans were saying to him.
Wow.
This is a real
Yeah.
story.
No,
so
it's-
like,
yeah.
this is,
And
you know,
this
it's
was this when
absolutely
Chuck was
tough.
playing?
He said he had a teammate who would
Oh,
rather
yeah.
sit on the bench than go play basketball.
Can we find
because
who
of
this is?
Wow.
He mentioned
Yeah.
the name. I'm not going to name names, but
Yeah.
it's a very interesting story because it puts it
Yeah.
in perspective where if you're someone who, we talk a lot about mental health these days. If you're
Yeah.
someone that has a hard time, taking what fans say, it's going to be difficult. And obviously, Philly is not the most welcoming of places,
No.
so
And
that's
then-
obviously part of it.
And then you go take your mental health days and get criticized on top of that.
That's a great
Yes.
point.
So it's
That's a
like
great
yes.
point.
you never
That's a
catch a
great point.
break.
I do believe though. Part of it, I think you guys are right with that. I think also part of it is that Ben Simmons is getting paid way too much money, and I think he realized I can just sit and do nothing.
I think
and still get paid.
I do think
that could be a very small piece.
I think that maybe I just think the only thing with Ben Simmons is I thought it was a little fishy where he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be back this series.
Yes.
and then
He
they
dunked
down
and had the
3-0.
reporters look at him. Like,
Yeah,
that's
they
part of it,
just
right?
and then
lost it.
And then he's down 3-0. He's like,
That's what it was. When you
woke
went
up
down,
feeling a
when
little
you went
tight,
down
you know what I
3-0
mean?
and you
It's like,
decided
come on,
exactly. When
man.
you went down 3-0,
That's what
when
I
you
didn't
decided.
like.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, I want to talk. Let's move to a series that we do like, and the team that actually dusted off the Brooklyn Nets, the Boston Celtics. This series they have versus the Milwaukee Bucks has been wildly entertaining as Boston takes the lead 107-105 with 24 seconds left in the fourth. This game has been wild. This series in general, wildly entertaining. And I think the big question, Eli, I'm going to start with you, that we had going into this was who's going to help Tatum and Brown. I mean, they've got a whole system with defense, and Brown and Tatum, as Alex said, combining for over 50. Tatum with 34, Brown with 26 tonight. At the beginning of the year, people had them not making the playoffs, not even getting to the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
That's where they were at the beginning of the year, and look where they are now.
I think it's really hard, and we saw this with this Knicks team that ended up as the 4th seed. It's really hard to evaluate a team's defense as a unit before they even play a game. Like you could say, okay, we know how good Jason Tatum is, we know how good Jaylen Brown will be, and they'll be a little bit better or worse than what you think. But it's almost impossible to say we know how good defensively this team is going to be this year, and we know how good they're going to be when it gets to the playoffs. How good defensively, you can't predict that. And it turns out that they were the best defensive team in basketball.
Yeah.
And it happened to be that, you talk about who's going to help Tatum and Brown. We saw
Al Horford.
some of the best games of Al Horford's career the last few games.
Al Horford was the man.
I don't even know if I can say this, but vintage Al Horford.
He looked like Florida Gators Al Horford.
It's a playoff career high. I mean,
30 points,
it
8
was huge.
rebounds. What was it? 3 assists. He had the dunk on Giannis. We got a tech, which
even
that
tonight,
was
8 rebounds,
asinine.
6 assists, 8 points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Almost
going to win you
triple-double.
games.
And then you have these very solid 3-and-D guys like Marcus Smart, Grant Williams.
So
who are,
Marcus Smart is the role player's role player.
he's almost
It's a good one.
he's almost. I mean, yeah, he's a role player, but he makes the amount of impact is
The defensive player of the year, by the way.
Yeah, I mean he's incredible. He's
So good.
And when you have these people, and we talked about this with Rucco this morning too.
Yeah.
Kyrie's leaving Grant Williams open in the corner. That's why they lost that series. That's
was part of
certainly a
it.
big factor. It's like
Well,
it's impossible to guard all these 3-point shooters, and when they're on, you get down quickly, and then you're getting locked up on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to face the Celtics team right now.
No.
And I said on Twitter before these series started, I said Celtics in 7 because Chris Middleton is not playing.
Yep.
Because who's Giannis' second? I mean, you have Drew Holiday.
It should be. I mean,
he's been
played,
playing.
He played well.
He's been playing
He
pretty
played well.
good. And then you have Bobby Portis as the third, who
Shout out to Kelly Bright.
honestly, thankfully, he's getting more minutes tonight. He but without Chris Middleton, I think it's the Celtics series.
Oh, Chris Middleton is. I'm an NBA meme. Ready? Every few games, he's Michael Jordan.
No, absolutely.
I don't know why. I don't know what's in the Texas A&M water. I literally have no idea. For basketball, at least, the one that Johnny Manziel was drinking. I mean, we know how that story ended, but nonetheless, the Aggies they just do things. But Chris Middleton, to go back to your point, Eli, he's just such a major contributor to this system that Mike Budenholzer has, where it's just Giannis drive the paint, everyone stand and shoot threes just when it boils down to it. But
Bucks just took the lead.
Yeah, he took the
Bobby
lead.
Portis.
Bobby Kelly Bright's favorite player. He is the new Michael Beasley. He is our favorite player's favorite player. He really is. He really is. I miss Michael Beasley. But to go back to what we were saying, I think asking Giannis, 40 and 11, and he is that
Can't
good.
do more than that.
But I don't know who else is going to help him. Holiday we know is not. He's not going to drop 30 really. He's going to play his little all around game, which is fine.
What's his triple level? Yeah.
He's pretty close to it, but you've got to find a way with this team. Wesley Matthews, you have to get 9 points out of him to keep this game close. Grayson Allen is playing minutes in an NBA playoff game. George Hill, 13 minutes.
Okay, but George Hill is a good backup point guard, and it's kind of disgraceful that he has 0 points.
This is the thing though with Storage Jill. He's
what?
Oh, it's. So I'll tell you the story. There was a YouTuber who I watch, and he was talking about Frank Ntilikina coming into the draft.
Oh, the GOAT.
Yeah. And then he's like, I'm not going to say the name of the point guard because I say it every time. It rhymes with Storage Jill. So that's what he came up with. With George Hill, they gave him that contract after his first year with the Bucks. Then the pandemic happens. Where did he go last year? I don't even remember now. This is scary. I usually know where these guys are. But the point I'm trying to make is he's back now. And he usually is a safe bet to be a role player, right?
Yeah.
And that 1 year he had in Utah, he went out above and beyond with his performance. He was fantastic. But at this point, he's approaching 35. He's actually 36. I don't know if you really should be asking him to play these minutes anymore. I really think they got to explore some other options. Serge Ibaka, he's not the player he was, but maybe in this series with how Boston likes to play with that front that they have with big, strong forwards, I probably would have thrown him in for 5 minutes maybe, just to see what he can do.
What's so interesting about this is both of these teams, obviously, this has been, I think, the most physical series of the playoffs.
Oh, my God, by far.
A lot of it now, you look at these rotations, they're both playing 8 guys. That's it.
Yep.
So
which is how it should be.
But then the thing that you mentioned is these guys are going to get gassed inevitably. So I think part of it is also, it's almost like a war of attrition here between these two squads. And, whoever is the deepest team is going to be the most successful because, like you mentioned, you can get 40 points from Giannis. That's incredible, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not going to beat you. The others are going to beat you. This is what we always talk about with championship teams is you need others to step up. And tonight that's been Drew Holiday, whether it was Grayson Allen, whether it was Al Horford for the Celtics. Those are the guys that win you series. And I think whichever of those role players can step up a little bit more than the other is going to be a difference in the series.
Exactly.
Just Giannis look absolutely exhausted.
He looks so tired.
He was
gassed.
Really
does.
And like it's really this, and the Bucks are up a point now with 6 seconds left, and they have the ball, so it looks, we'll see.
How's
we'll
the
see what
hockey
happens
game
with the Celtics. But yeah, I would completely agree that if you have guys if you're the Celtics and you have guys like Horford showing up.
So I want to interrupt Lou Orlando. Bobby Portis put back. Drew Holiday. What was it, Lou? Was it a block? He said, I think it was a block. So now there's just antics everywhere. It's night in sports. I can't keep up. I've had it. I'm retired. That's it. I'm done. But to, I guess, wrap up with this series, and we of course saw the reaction on Twitter with the Al Horford dunk. He gets the tech. Yep. He wasn't even, this is my issue. I'm going to be brief on this. I'm going to toss it to you guys. With the NBA's taunting rules, when you're screaming at the fans, that's not the players. What?
It's playoff basketball.
But let it be playoff basketball.
I agree.
That has to be first and foremost.
There's been a lot of stuff between the taunts, the flagrants, a lot of stuff.
Breaking
right
the
now.
code from John Morant. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is just playoff basketball.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Especially a series as physical as this one.
No, this one's just ridiculous.
I really wish they would just let him just take half a step back and let him play, because this is what you watch.
But this is where it goes both ways. You can't have it like Dennis Rodman back in the 90s just smacking cameramen.
Yeah, but you don't
in the
have
midsection.
that.
But
man.
no, I'm saying, but like there's got to
if it
there's
gets
a
that
balance.
point, then you take another step forward. But that's not.
This is what I think. When I was playing with Michael and Scotty, I could do what I want. See, I'm Dennis Rodman.
Always need an impression. We've hit all of them today. We've got the
Bucks.
Ryan Gregware does not like my Jimmy Sullivan impersonation.
Bucks win on a
Jimmy Sullivan name drop.
There we go. Jimmy Sullivan.
All right, there we go.
See.
Let's
Jimmy Sullivan.
Let's move on, Tom.
Yeah, let's keep going. We love Jimmy, but
well, it's final with the Bucks, 110-107. So.
Oh well, there you go.
On a Drew Holiday steal.
That's big though now, because now you get Game 6 in Milwaukee.
Game 6,
that's absolutely
playing
huge.
Out there is not easy either. That arena is crazy. You've got the the Packers courtside chugging beer. You've got who else you got in that arena? I mean, the Bucks fans they're so passionate out there. I mean, good for them last year winning the whole thing. But Chris Middleton not being in this series, Bobby Portis. I mean,
it's a big gritty win though. You got scored by 12 in the fourth quarter. I mean, and especially because you remember what the Celtics in the fourth quarter, she had 80% or whatever it was in the fourth quarter.
That was ridiculous.
What was the game where they were just going bonkers?
I mean, I remember the last game they shot the lights out in the fourth quarter. So now Bucks flipped the script. Obviously, learned something.
It was game. I think it was game 2.
It's a huge win.
Yeah, game 2 was Boston just going nuts. They shot. Where is it? They shot 48% from the field, 47% from 3. They had that first half. I believe they missed. They shot 65% from 3 in game 2 in the first half.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like this is the thing with Boston, because this is what Ime Udoka does. I want to just say this, and then we're going to move on to the Warriors Memphis series. Ime's system is drive and kick and shoot threes. It's simple stuff, but it's worked. Look where they are. I mean, Milwaukee just took game 5, but look where they are in the NBA playoffs. But we've got to flip it out west. Memphis and Golden State. This was a series that I genuinely thought would go to 7.
Oh, no.
We are at a 3-1 in favor of Golden State. The biggest thing that I pointed out with Memphis, Eli, and I'm going to start with you here as well, was the experience factor.
Absolutely.
That was going to play a huge role. It did. 3-1 Memphis. The fact they're even here is impressive.
Well, I mean, it's
without Ja Morant, may I add.
Absolutely, but also we when we were talking about NBA conversation late in the regular season, everybody pulled up the stat.
Yep.
Oh, Grizzlies are 20-2 without Ja. And then people are saying ridiculous things like, "Are the Grizzlies better without Ja Morant?" No, that's absurd, obviously. But like,
who said that? Was that just Twitter?
I might have insinuated it, but
insinuated Twitter.
But I mean, it was definitely a lack of experience. You have Jaren Jackson Jr. shooting an off-balance 3 in double coverage with 7 seconds left.
And he probably got fouled.
I don't know. No, that was
we just talked about playoff basketball, man.
That was a terrible shot. I don't care if you got fouled there. You shouldn't be taking that shot with 7 seconds left, dude. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge, experience gap that you saw, and it shows that. I mean, even with Ja, I don't think they win that game because the Warriors have. The Warriors still have a huge experience gap even when Ja's on the floor, and I don't think Ja's athleticism can make up for that.
No.
So that's why I have Warriors in 5, and I had it before the beginning of the series, and I think that they will finish it out next game because this team without Ja is just they're good at basketball until there's 5 minutes left, which is the most important part. And it's not like they are bad at basketball. It's just you're playing against Draymond Green and Steph Curry,
and Clay.
When there's 5 minutes left. Clay's will.
Jordan Poole. What was pool party?
Pool party.
That's what it was.
And yeah,
he created that.
I think. Look, that's great. I have no problem with that. But I think look at the last game. I think in this series is so interesting because the Warriors were almost just scrimmaging for the first 3 quarters, and they really did not.
Yeah.
Look, I've been watching the Warriors for a very long time. That was the worst I've ever seen them. Period. They were atrocious in the first 3 quarters, and it was a 5-point game.
Yeah.
And I think this is. I mean, that's true.
Exactly.
And I think part of it is you turn on the Jets in the fourth quarter, and that's it. And this is kind of like the danger and the promise of the Warriors simultaneously. Is on one hand, this is enough to get past the Grizzlies without Ja Morant because there's just simply the talent gap is too large, I think, between those two teams. So the Warriors at any given moment can turn it on and take care of business. But it's also the danger of the Warriors. They get into these moments where they play a little lackadaisical. They're turning the ball over a little too much. They're not taking great shots. Is that going to be enough to beat the Suns, beat the Mavericks? I don't know.
No.
But obviously, the Grizzlies without Ja Morant just don't have enough firepower. They play a different style of basketball without him, whereas it's a lot more involved. Obviously, you have a lot of 20-point scorers in that game. But like you mentioned, Eli, then you get to the last 5 minutes, and that's what you need. You need a guy that could shoot the ball at the end of the game, like a Steph Curry, like a Klay Thompson, like a Draymond Green.
Right. And the other thing I'll say about Ja Morant, and as good as he has been, I mean, this team without him, the fact that they can even play Golden State close is a win.
Well, that's the thing. Like, this is the thing. I mean, I've been not a believer in this whole Ja Morant. The Grizzlies are better without him.
That's just such a.
The stats are. I'm going to ask you guys. I've never seen this where a team does not just have a good record because a record can be malleable. That's malleable because it's who's playing, what's the situation. They also have better numbers like offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, all this stuff. Well, I've never seen something where a team is not just winning games, but is legitimately statistically better without a guy.
When you talk about regular season, the Grizzlies, there's a genuine argument that the Grizzlies were a better regular season team without Ja.
It's crazy.
It's like if you look like it doesn't make sense when you say
That's
it, but
what
if
I'm
you
saying.
look at it, it's almost true. But everybody knows this. As soon as you get to the playoffs, you need that guy.
Yeah.
And the Grizzlies obviously do not have that guy right now without Ja. And even with Ja, there's a question of, is he that guy?
I mean, you need 10 and 15 from Steven Adams, the Kiwi, to keep you in the game. 21 from Jaren Jackson Jr., 19 from Tyus Jones. This is in game 4.
But that's like that. Look at all the contributions you're getting.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson, another guy, and I think part of it too is the
Kyle
Grizzlies
Anderson.
very late figured out that size is how you win this series, right? Like they need, and Steven Adams obviously was not a part of the first few games of the series.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks not a part of the first few games.
He
of the
also
series.
got thrown out of, what was it, game
Yes.
2?
It was game 2, I think.
Game
but
1 or 2.
Exactly. I might have game 1, but I think part of it now is like you mentioned. You're not going to outshoot the Warriors. You're not going to outrun the Warriors. You've got to beat them up physically. And we talk about how physical. Jack Roche actually, it's a funny message about this. He said like turning on the Warriors Grizzlies like watching a pillow fight because there's just not a lot of back and forth between these two teams like there are in the Bucks Celtics series. And the Grizzlies just haven't been physical enough with the Warriors, and they're kind of cruising right now and probably will tonight.
So go ahead.
It's really interesting to see like how these teams, like when you look deeper into the bracket and when you see two teams in the championship, if you get a really physical team like the Bucks or the Celtics, and then a not so physical but still very good basketball team and someone like Golden State, like I'm very intrigued on how a finals would look like with two very different teams like that.
It would look very weird. I think Golden State would win just because of
they've
been around the block so many times.
That's the thing with the Warriors. Like coming into this season, I said
Steph MVP.
So I said the Warriors have no shot at winning the finals solely because I didn't think they were experienced enough. I thought this group of players had never been in this situation. A Jordan Poole, a Gary
and
Payton.
nobody saw Jordan Poole.
Correct.
No, Wiggins.
So I didn't think they had enough of this group. I thought it was a year too early. But now, look, I mean, this is very much like that 2015 Warriors team that won, pre-KD. They're playing the same. They look the same. There's a looseness, a fluidity.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to beat, But I think the East, that physicality from Miami, too, also.
Oh, yeah, Miami.
And from Philly.
Oh, my God.
Tough. I mean, I think I've said the East is the best
series.
conference
I agree.
all the way through.
I completely agree.
The East, that Miami-Philadelphia series has been so funny.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that Jimmy Butler's going to fight someone after the series is over,
This
regardless
is the
of
thing.
who wins.
I've been saying this a while for Miami. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Miami series because, I keep saying they are the top team in the East for a reason. Very simple.
Oh, yeah.
Very simple. I think you got to respect that team and the physicality that they bring to the table. And obviously, vice versa. The Grizzlies are the 2 seed, but I don't think anybody's getting too excited about the Grizzlies as a 2 seed.
Not yet, anyway.
Miami, though, is a playoff basketball team. I think there's a difference between those two seeds.
And no heat bias from you.
No.
Okay. And they've been described. We described them. When we saw them in the bubble, they are dogs.
Oh yeah.
And like regular season, I mean, like that almost. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it matters so much more when you get to the playoffs because you see things like. It's that really like that it becomes a chess game where you have to go up against I love Embiid, but a troll like Joel Embiid, and you have to match him mentally and physically. And Jimmy Butler can do that, at least mentally. Jimmy Butler is right up there, talking trash. I love to see, just coming back with attitude, and the attitude needs to be there because that translates onto the physical side of the floor.
Attitude. Fordham Rams culture, attitude indeed.
Heat culture.
Heat culture. I do think I want to comment on heat culture because I think that you guys bring up a good point. Jimmy Butler had a quote the other day where he said along the lines of, I'm not the most athletic, I'm not the best shooter, I'm not this or that. Everything I do is hard work. I think that really...
He wants it more
than
anyone else.
He wants it. Now, I have to roast myself a little bit. I did write an article last summer about how the NBA season in 2020, 2021 was weird, and I said the bubble was fake news, blah, 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 blah. Me complaining and having my old man moments, right? But I think what I said about the Miami Heat, most of it was because of injuries, but I do think that they got lucky in that playoff round.
That's not false. No, it's not false.
It's not false.
No.
I'm not holding it against them, but before the pandemic, no one thought was going to beat Milwaukee. Literally, no one would have beaten them. Yeah. Miami was seen as a team that was maybe going to get to the second round and maybe go 6 games with someone. They've turned it around completely after that past season. Here they are now. They're probably going to the conference finals. I do not trust Doc Rivers.
They are. Yeah.
In the playoff series at all. Doc Rivers, to me, how do I describe him? He's a good coach. I think the Boston run was his peak. I think that was really it. He's had some mistakes along the way with Tim Duncan and the Magic and McGrady's whole debacle, right? I think that Boston team that was tailor-made for him, the 4 All-Stars, Kevin Garnett coming, and now here he is with Philadelphia. I mean, the Clippers, too. We can talk about the Clippers all day long.
Yeah, another failure. Yeah,
another failure. But I think with the Sixers, to his credit, he's definitely turned them. He's not going to take them anywhere. I think that's the thing we have to understand. Joel Embiid is as amazing as he is. James Harden's on that 76ers roster. And historically in the playoffs, we do not trust James Harden. San Antonio in 2017, the 27 missed threes.
Love that game.
The 2019 series versus Golden State, and he was fighting with Chris Paul. Then you go into the bubble with Russell. I mean, I can keep going. NBA Finals when he was with the Thunder.
Yeah.
We can keep going. Dwight Howard. I don't trust James Harden to sustain himself in this playoff series. I really don't. That's also going to kill this Embiid taking them to the promised land thing.
That's what I think, Eli, because the thing to me is
Eli.
like when you talk about like the NBA playoffs, I think it's got to be a perfect confluence of factors to win a ring. That's health, which we're seeing Grizzlies aren't healthy, right? You know, teams that aren't healthy are going to struggle. You need a buy-in, obviously top to bottom. Nets didn't have the buy-in, right? Sixers, I don't know if they have the buy-in or not, but you need all these things to come together.
They've got the talent, too.
Miami's got the talent, right? We've seen that. They've also got the buy-in, and they've got the ability to play physical in the playoffs that matter, and the coach, right? So you put all these things together, that's what you need to win the ring. I think something is evading the Sixers, you know, like it is with the Grizzlies, like it is with these other teams we've talked about.
I think the Heat win this series. I don't think Doc Rivers. No. I just think there's, first of all, Doc Rivers scores, as we've mentioned, and I also think that Joel Embiid is playing with a torn thumb right now.
He is. He's also hurt.
And that injury thing, that's a big part. Like Joe, I feel so bad for Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid, like, just he had an MVP. Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, all
Jokic
MVP
definitely robbed him.
I mean, I don't know if it was a rob, but they all had MVP caliber seasons, and unfortunately, there's only one winner.
Just.
You get into the playoffs and it's okay, injury after injury, and James Harden.
2019, he was the Walking Dead.
50-point triple.
He was
doubles.
literally the Walking Dead 3 years ago in the playoffs versus Toronto. Like, I don't know how. And then in the bubble, it's without Ben Simmons and Al Horford. Then last year it was Ben Simmons really was the one that just hit the nail on the head with how Philly performs in the playoffs. But I genuinely believe, and then we're gonna switch to Jokic.
Okay.
If Philadelphia, and I don't think it's going to happen that they're going to win the series, there could be a trade request incoming by Joel Embiid. I think that is not going to be out of the question this year if they lose again.
I would hate to see him
in the
leave
second
Philly,
round. Go to the Knicks.
Oh, here
no,
we go.
get that out of
you don't want Joel Embiid?
I'm not saying that. Let's be realistic.
Let's be realistic. Thank you. Who are we going to trade?
Exactly.
Precisely. We could trade R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel quickly, and half for us for Joel Embiid, but then we
hire Jay Wright and then just trade him. Do that. I think he has more value to Philadelphia than Joel Embiid.
Well, I think the thing to me about the Sixers, I'm not even entertaining that idea. I think the thing is that
they gotta make a change.
The experiment, same with the Nets. You don't know what the potential is of these two guys a whole season. I think that's really, and you got to wait until you see that from start to finish before you make any judgments. I think that's to me.
I do think the trade rumblings. I mean, we're going to see it with Donovan Mitchell.
He's not happy though. That's for sure.
He's not happy.
I think that's
I wouldn't be surprised that he leaves. He's just absolutely.
We're gonna see it with the Jazz because that's going to happen.
A lot of problems.
We're going to probably Portland. I think is going to be with Damian Lillard. I mean, I saw the other day someone said, "Oh, trade Zach LaVine." No, the correct take is trade Damian Lillard, start over, because what Portland did is not working.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that with Joel. There's a good chance we see that with the Nets. And I would say, who the last team would be? I would think that, maybe the Lakers. Yeah, maybe the Lakers. That could be another one. But they're more of free agency stuff.
Yeah.
Trading Anthony Davis, that's a discussion for another day. But the MVP of the NBA, this is our last little segment. Nikola Jokic, 27 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.5 steals. 33.5 minutes per game, playing 74 games, all-star this year, again for the 4th year in a row. Second-round pick. This is undoubtedly the greatest second-round pick of all time, Eli. And the race, in terms of his team, they would not be anywhere without him, of course.
Yeah,
the situation he was going into this year was already screwed up as it was with Porter, which was a horrible contract. Jamal Murray's not there. You're relying on Will Barton to be your Robin. I mean, Monte Morris had to do stuff for them. Aaron Gordon, who was a good pickup for them, but the moral of Nashawn Highland, shout out to VCU in the Atlantic 10. he's working with nothing. I think the MVP award should go to him. I think that you're working with nothing, and then you take them to the playoffs, done and dusted.
Probably the most important thing that we have to mention when we talk about the MVP award is MVP does not mean best player. It means most valuable.
Yeah.
If Jokic and Embiid are, let's say, maybe not like swap positions per se, but if Jokic has a better team, if Jokic has a James Harden and Embiid doesn't,
I mean, it
is
changes.
So clearly
changes.
Embiid, and it's not even close. I think Nikola Jokic is rightfully, you could say, I honestly think in terms of MVP, it goes Jokic, Giannis, and then Embiid. But I think Embiid is the best player in the league. I genuinely think he is.
Over Giannis?
I do.
Wow.
I think he's the most dominant player in the league.
Over Luka?
Of course over Luka. Are you kidding me? What is this? Of course he's of course over Luka. Giannis,
Luka's not in the conversation.
Come
he's
on.
not. But Embiid is just unguardable, straight up unguardable. And people criticize him for taking so many free throws. Why do you think that is?
It's huge.
Because
He's a mountain.
And he is incredibly skilled. Nobody can guard him. He has Kobe moves that he pulls out at 7-1.
People are like, this is
just
Hakeem
not fair.
Olajuwon 2.0. I see why they would say that now.
It's just not fair. And then, but what I love is that, okay, he gets 12 free throws a game, makes every single one, or 11 out of 12. That's huge. Because if your game is, I'm so good that I'm going to get fouled 12 times a game, I have to make my free throws.
Yep.
I got to say, there's been so much. Everybody in my camp has been saying Embiid. I'm
my
very
camp? What are you?
Very reassured. People around me, Tom.
I'm not gonna lie. I was saying Embiid for a while.
You were too. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah,
but
I
was on the.
But
fence
after the
with it.
first, the last 2 weeks of the regular season, it kind of became
so
apparent.
to hear this is very reassuring, and I don't have to do as much work anymore because my argument's been made already. But I think it's very simple to me. I mean, statistically, the difference is minor, and I'm honestly giving the edge to Jokic because just the assist numbers that he generates are so much more impressive.
Yeah,
that's one part of it. Statistically, I think Jokic is a nod. Call him a chalk, whatever.
Chalk.
But the team difference, their teams are 3 games apart in two very hard conferences, and one guy's got no help, and one guy's got James Harden.
Yeah,
that's it.
I see. Here's the thing, though. Do we consider James Harden in the playoffs help?
And Tobias
Absolutely.
Harris, he's got a lot of help.
You do?
Dude.
Well, Tobias Harris.
I've been watching a lot of basketball.
Come on, he's still James Harden, man.
Dude, I've never seen a more one-man effort than Jokic against the Warriors.
Oh no, that was incredible.
I mean, this dude is just by himself.
Again, Nashawn Highland is
what are we talking about here? That's my point.
Bones from VCU.
So the fact that he's on his own and literally having to do. I've never seen a guy work that hard to just get even the bare minimum of buckets and to do it consistently and keep your head up the whole time and have your team as a 6 seed in the playoffs.
31 points in that series. 31 points.
I mean, without Jamal Murray, without much of Michael Porter wasn't healthy, and what he did, we're normalizing greatness is what we're doing year over year with these guys.
DeMarcus Cousins had to average 11 points. Come on.
I'm very happy to hear you guys on the same page. What he did this year was incredible.
And speaking of DeMarcus Cousins, producer Lou informed me Danny Scott is in the chat and asks, will the Kings ever be good? I actually think you should start buying stock in them.
So I'll give you a couple notes too. We talk about the Warriors, obviously Mike Brown's going over to coach the Kings, and also Kenny Atkinson also apparently is getting a tab for the Lakers job also from the Warriors.
That would
a couple
be a good
notes there. Interesting stuff there, but a good question about the Kings, I think.
Yeah, I think they're in a good spot. I like the Sabonis Fox pairing. I think Davion Mitchell's a good off-ball guard. And defensively, which is they're just a mess on that end of the floor, Mitchell is perfect for what they need. And at Baylor, I'm going to go into my college basketball bag here before we wrap up. He was lights out on defense. The effort he puts in to just things like simply as shuffling your feet are amazing. And that is going to be huge for the Kings. I definitely think Mike Brown's a good fit. He'll definitely, again, he can take them to the playoffs. Will they go to the promised land?
Well, he's a Kings fan. Don't forget that.
Yeah, Danny's a Kings fan. I think it remains to be seen, but I think Mike Brown, what they've got, they're going in the right direction. I think we can say that. And then they've got the draft pick this year, whoever they're going to add. I think for them, the perfect fit's Ben Mathurin, who does everything. He's a better Harrison Barnes. We'll say that.
We're getting deep now. Now we're talking draft. I mean, it's the playoffs, man.
We are. Yeah, I'm still in playoff.
Well, we got
to
acknowledge.
I'll give you a couple of quick clicks though before you wrap us up, Eli. I know we've been talking about the Rangers all night. They took care of business, 5-3 over the Penguins.
Go.
So let's mention that. Got a game 6. I'm calling a comeback, and then also Florida. They've come all the way back to take the lead against the Caps. So some good stuff there, Eli.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun tonight, you guys. Eli, you were first time you and I working together, and I had a lot of fun.
It's been a good time.
Alex Walls, I mean,
Don Waltz.
Don Waltz.
It's a pleasure.
No, mine was the Warden.
All right, so I gotta stop real quick. Lou Orlando asked me for my favorite basketball player. I'll just gonna point him out over here. Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Guy.
He's got the
yes.
shoes.
Very clear for you all.
He's got the shoes.
I'm not biased at all to the Heat and the Warriors, just to let you all know. But
Yeah.
I thank you, Lou. I got to clear up my bases. So thank
Mine's Michael Jordan. Next.
you. Who's your favorite player,
this is-
Eli?
yeah,
This is a
Eli.
very
Incredibly
important last
difficult.
question.
We gotta.
You
Yeah,
mean
wait.
after Frank Ntilikina? I assume.
Yeah, you go.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Let's make it quick
Let's
too.
all stop.
Everybody take a deep breath. Give me a few seconds. Like current or all time?
All
Current.
time.
I want current.
Anyone.
Okay, I'll give you both. All time. Do you guys
You got a
remember
minute, let's go.
Monte Ellis?
Yes.
Pacers
Love
guard.
it. All right,
Yes.
great.
Anyways, or maybe Vince Carter, or Steve Nash, or John Stockton. Anyways,
All right, too
current
long.
player.
All right, too
many.
I love
many.
Emmanuel Quickly.
Okay,
Mitchell
there you go.
Robinson's my guy.
There we
to
go.
be a Knicks fan. I don't know.
So that's just gonna about
Jamal Murray.
That's just
actually.
gonna about
Prime
do it here
Jamal Murray.
on one. Our producer today,
Bubble
Lou
Jamal
Orlando.
Murray.
Video producer Ryan Gregoire. Bobby Chaffordini. Our sports director for Alex Wolves, Eli Keeler. I'm Tom Silo saying so long and thank you so much for tuning in. One on One is a production of WFUV Sports.